What's up, guys? Welcome back to Blues Nation, and today we got another game preview for you. So we have Chelsea versus Sunderland starting tomorrow, and what we're going to do today is we're just going to go through a couple of things. We're going to go through keys for Sunderland. In other words, what are some of their strengths that they should focus on, and also their weaknesses that we as Chelsea should focus on, and then likewise, what are Chelsea's keys to the game. And then after that, we'll shortly look at the injury report, and then we'll build up a lineup together. So before we do that, make sure to like and subscribe, and that kind of just continues to help build this channel and also lets you know when there's new videos coming out. So before we do any more of that, let's get into the Sunderland keys. Okay, so Sunderland is of course one of the newly promoted sides this year, and they have been performing tremendously this far. They are sitting on, I think it's 14 points, and they're in 7th position right now on the table. So they're doing really well for a newly promoted side. They're playing really good football. They have some good names of some players that you probably know of, like Enzo Lefebvre, Granit Xhaka. They have a couple others that you will definitely know. And to just get into a couple of their keys, they have some key players that I want us to really keep an eye on as we get into this game. So first off, they have Bertrand Traore. I don't know if you remember him, but back in the day, he was a Chelsea player, played for us for I think a few seasons, kind of as a striker / winger. And he's a fun player. For some reason, I had this soft spot in my heart for Traore, and he's gone around a bunch of different teams. I think he's played in Turkey, he's played at Ajax recently, and now he's playing for Sunderland. So he hasn't necessarily been an impact player for them, but it's kind of fun to see him come back and play against our Chelsea. But two players who I think really are very effective for Sunderland, and we have to make sure we have to shut down, our Granit Xhaka, who we all know from, of course, his infamous years in Arsenal and then his better years at Bayer Leverkusen. He's already sitting on 3 assists this year, so he's been good at driving play forward and creating for them. And of course, he's a good leader for them as well, kind of as a veteran player. For obviously a lot of times these kind of newly promoted sides are young, and even if not young in age, they're young in experience in the Premier League, and he of course has a lot of that. So he's going to be a big player for them in this game. And then a second player who's going to be really big for them is their top scorer, of course, and that's Wilson Isidore. He's sitting on 3 goals as well, so he's been performing pretty well. And we have to make sure we have to shut them down. So that pair alone has 6 goal contributions for them in the first, 7 games or so of the Premier League. So they've been playing well. And as for their play style, they do have some strengths for sure, and I'll pop up over here probably their strengths and weaknesses from whoscored.com, which is really fun if you guys want to check out and kind of look at how do teams play, where do they have the bulk of their possession, do they get most of their goals from open play, from set pieces, stuff like that. Go to WhoScored, it's a really good website. But they kind of tend to play a compact, defensive-minded football where they will attack. It's not necessarily only counterattacks, but they are more comfortable being in their side of the field for a longer period of time, sitting back, being compact as a defense, winning the ball. As you see here on the strengths, they're good at a couple things defensively. They're good at apparently stealing the ball, getting steals from the opposition. They're also good at aerial duels, which will be one of the keys for Chelsea later. And they're also good at protecting the lead. So you do not want to get behind necessarily against Sunderland, because it's hard to get back into a game against a team that's already compact, who then is able to park the bus even more if they're on a lead. So that's the way they're going to play. But if you see here, their weakness, one of their major weaknesses is defending against attacks on the wings. And I would say that is one of our greatest strengths as of right now, with the likes of Gittins getting into form, Garnacho showing himself in spurts, Pedro Neto consistently putting in good performances, and then Stevao seemingly really coming onto the scene as a major character for Chelsea Football Club. That I would say is one of our strengths, and this is one of their major weaknesses. So that is going to, I think, play a big part in how this game results. So that's some of Sunderland's keys. Again, the fun return of Traore, Granit Xhaka, and Isidore playing well together as both the assister and the goal scorer. And then whether or not they're going to be able to remain disciplined and compact against the Chelsea Football Club, it's going to have immense quality, of course, against them, and better quality than a lot of teams they've played thus far. So that's Sunderland keys. Let's go ahead and hop into Chelsea keys now. Okay, so I just have a few keys for us today, and they do kind of work off of the Sunderland keys, which is why I was bringing them up. First off, we all know that we occasionally struggle against, and correct me if I'm wrong, I haven't gotten to watch many Sunderland games, but from my understanding of seeing how they play, they like to focus on, yes, we're okay giving you the bulk of possession, letting you come at us. We're going to beat you by defending well. We're going to beat you by getting the ball back in our half and then doing quick attacks, that type of thing. Sometimes Chelsea can struggle against that, and that's when you see the ping pong back between center back to full back to center back to full back, back and forth, nothing progressive. And we all want to, bash our heads against the wall and stop watching the game and go watch the grass grow instead, right? That sometimes happens. So my first key is Enzo Fernandez, and my reason for that is because whether or not you're a total Enzo stan or not, which I am, by the way, he is one of our best players at breaking down lines with really progressive through balls and switches. So I think his ability to play quick, to play fast, to make quick decisions, to break down the lines is going to be pivotal for Chelsea in this game. Whether it be a through ball to Joao Pedro coming in through the middle, or getting Stavao coming down a wing very quickly and releasing him before they have time to kind of form into their back line, I think he's going to be key in this game for breaking down a compact defense. So that's my first key. And then second is center back. So I'm just a sneak peek. The center back pairing I'm going to have is Trev and Josh. And the reason for that is because, one, I think they deserve it. I think Tosin's starting for me to kind of prove himself to be a rotational center back. Not as a diss, but I just think that's kind of where he slots in. And I think that's kind of why we brought him in anyway. Trev, I think, has been a stalwart. And then Josh, I think, is really coming on the scene. So, and I don't think we'll give Wes another start in a row, not as punishment, but just because we don't want him to get injured again. Kind of similar to what we were doing with Reece months ago. So, with those two guys, what I want from them is I want them to be very strong in the air. And in addition to the center back pairing, it also applies on the flip side with who I'm going to have as striker, because our ability to actually be a participant in corners and set pieces, also in balls whipped in from the wings, is going to be huge against a team that's strong in the air. So will our big boys, our strikers, and our center backs be able to compete and win those 50-50 balls? Because that does make an immense difference both in our box and in the opposition's box. So that's my second key. And then lastly, based off one of their major weaknesses as a team, is our wingers. Our wingers have to come to play, and I think they absolutely will. I think, like I said, our wingers are some of our most creative players, as they should be, some of our most progressive, and some of our most cocky players in a sporting way, which I think is a good thing. So if we focus on those things, if we have Enzo really focus on breaking down the lines with his line-breaking passes, our center backs and striker focusing on winning those 50-50 balls in the air to dominate possession, and then our winger play, I think we will absolutely come out of this game with a win. So those are my keys to the game, both for Chelsea and for Sunderland. Now let's go ahead and hop into our lineup builder. But before we do that, let's look briefly at the team news for both teams. So I'll pop up probably just a little screen clip of this next to me. So for Sunderland, I'll start with them because I don't know most of these names. We have Ajibola Elise, who is a defender, Dennis Sirkin, defender, Leo Hjelde, defender, Habib Diarra, I know him, midfielder, he is out, and then Roman Mundel, who's a forward, is also out. So that's their players that are out. For Chelsea, we have Malo Gusto. He got that stupid second yellow card last week, if you remember that. Benoit Badiashile, who just quietly is out till December, which is such a shame to me. Cole Palmer, Dario Sugo, Liam Delap, and Levi Colwill. So nothing really new for us there. Just a reminder that Malo Gusto is not available. So let's hop into the lineup builder. Okay, guys, so you see here my lineup. I'm just going to run through it real fast and so you can kind of understand my reasoning. So we have Rob Sanchez in goal. Then right back, we have Reece James. Malagusto suspended, so Reece is going to have to play, which he should anyway. And then in the center back pairing, I hinted at it earlier. We have Josh Champong and Trev Chalobah. Both these players I'm starting to grow an immense confidence in. I've been confident in Trev for a long time, but Josh is starting to prove himself to seem to be way more polished, I think, this year than last. He's still raw in some ways. I think sometimes he stays on the ball too long. Sometimes he dribbles through too many lines and then loses it, and then he's completely out of position. But he clearly has immense talent. There's reason the biggest teams in Europe were calling for him. So that's the center back pairing. And then Mark Cucurella at left back. And then in the middle, we have our strongest pairing of Enzo Fernandez and Moises Caicedo. I'm just kind of controlling the midfield, which I think they'll absolutely run the midfield in this game. And then the 4 attacking players on the right, I'm starting Steval. In the middle, I'm starting João Pedro. On the left, I'm starting Pedro Neto. And through the middle up top, I'm sorry, Mark Yu. I think for a couple reasons we saw hints at that. João Pedro will definitely start this game as he was suspended for the Champions League game, so he was also rested. And also Mark Yu got subbed off, which I think was a sign to the fact that he will play this game. Whether it's off the bench or not, we'll see. But I do think he'll absolutely get minutes, and I think he should and will likely start this game so that João Pedro can play kind of in his more comfortable second striker, false 9 position, coming in behind, working off Mark Yu, which will allow, with 2 people that you really have to focus on coming through the middle, allow our wingers, both our hardworking Pedro Neto, who I have off the left for today, and Steval, who absolutely deserves a start in the Premier League, up the right. I think they're going to be troublemakers. I personally think this is an immensely strong side. And some of you might think, is this too strong? Should we rotate it some? Should we rotate the midfield? Maybe you could put Andre in there, maybe Lavia in there, and I could understand that. However, I'm at the point now where you have to remember that every game in the Premier League is worth the same amount of points. It doesn't matter if it's October, November, or April. Every game is worth the same amount of points. So I'm at the point where I'm thinking we have to solidify every point tally that we can. Almost especially at the teams that are easier to slip up against, who are these overperforming banana peel teams like Sunderland. So I think we need a strong lineup. This is who I'm expecting to see. And let's quickly go over my score prediction. So guys, I think this game is actually going to be fairly comfortable for us. Sunderland has been very good, but also Chelsea is better, and they've been in immense form. So I think that we'll win this game 3-1. I think Sunderland's proven themselves able to compete, so I don't think it's going to be any kind of blowout or we're going to run them out of the park. I think it'll probably start a 1-0 Chelsea, and then maybe they'll tie it, and then maybe we'll score 1 more and then score 1 late on. And I could see it being 3-1 because, like I said, I just look at the attacking prowess we have up top, and I have a hard time seeing how they're not going to be able to open up and use the keys to open up this chest, which will allow them to score a couple goals. So that's my lineup, and that's also my score prediction. What do you guys think is going to happen tomorrow? Leave your comments down below so we can interact, talk about different opinions. Who would you start? Who would you sit? Who do you think deserves more attention? Maybe I'm ignoring, and let's talk about that. So guys, enjoy the game tomorrow, and I'll see you next week.